The truth is that you are not blamed for being sexually abused. The truth is that there's nothing you did that made someone hurt you. That is solely the responsibility of someone who chooses to hurt another. It not only impacts people so deeply, it not only impacts people in so many different ways, it does it for so long. The time that it's affecting their mind, their self-esteem, again, their actions, their schooling, their relationships. It's so much damage on one act from a human being that chose to do it.
Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast challenging norms and helping you redefine vulnerability as a strength. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford. Each episode of Vulnerability Muscle dives into a variety of topics such as mental health, social issues, and mindset shifts. We explore the power of vulnerability and fostering meaningful connections, healing, building resilience, and promoting personal growth. Sometimes these conversations are uncomfortable, but good workouts often are. So join us and flex that vulnerability muscle. Welcome to this episode of Vulnerability Muscle. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford. And today we have a tough topic that we're going to discuss. But, you know, those tough topics, those tough conversations, they're like hard workouts. And that's what we do here on Vulnerability Muscle. I got a guest today, Robert Uttaro. He is currently in his 17th year as a rape crisis counselor and a community educator. Inspired by his undergraduate studies in criminal justice, he continues to embrace a lifelong commitment to activism and advocacy for survivors of sexual violence. Serving as a counselor, Uttaro supports rape survivors and their significant others through mental, emotional, and spiritual and legal issues. He also facilitates workshops that unpack the realities of sexual violence and offers strategies for support and prevention with a focus on healing. Robert has been featured in magazine publications across the country and on international radio broadcasts. Through the grace of God, Utaro's work and his book To the Survivors continues to impact people's minds and hearts globally. Robert, welcome to Vulnerability Muscle. How's your heart today, my friend?
My heart's feeling well. It's feeling very blessed to be with you this morning and for you to give me the opportunity to speak about these issues. So I'm feeling great, man. How are you?
I thank you for asking. My heart is full. My heart is full. This is a conversation I've been looking forward to ever since it got on the schedule. I think it's something that is important to talk about, and especially important to talk about between two men.
Mm.
I think that is something that we don't see often. A conversation like this, and so I'm one grateful for the opportunity, grateful for the work that you do, the person that you are, and for being here with me today.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I want to open it up first before we dive into just some of the work that you do and the inspiration behind that with a segment I like to call What Comes to Mind.
Hmm.
And so these are three questions. You let me know the first thing you think about, whatever you can. And it could be short, it could be long, it could be a story, it could be a word. So you let me know. What comes to mind when you hear the word vulnerability?
It's the work that I do. It's people that vulnerability is terrifying for people. It's actually really scary, and it's essentially, in my opinion or my experience, people showing their true self, and being vulnerable to open up about something that is deep within them, something that most often is incredibly painful to them, and to trust someone enough to show their pain, their flawed self, their lack of perfection, their shame. And so it's vulnerability, something deep. It's something so terrifying, but it's something that actually, once people do it and experience it, and someone treats them well, that I see lives change. And it's as terrifying as it
Mhm.
is. It's ultimately a beautiful thing. It's a great thing that can be quite beneficial in one's growth and healing process.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And if in this conversation, we kind of spoke to this before we hopped on, but if anything, if the vulnerability that is shared feels terrifying, feels unbearable, and you can't go or you want to deviate and pivot, please feel free to let me know. And we definitely, I want you to feel comfortable in everything that you share.
I appreciate it. That's a good way to actually, if I may, just to give a warning for anyone who's listening that this is a difficult topic, and so if someone is upset or stressed or even triggered, that maybe they should turn this off or maybe go to it later in life. Do what's safe for you in this space now and even after while listening.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Robert, what do you do to center yourself, ground yourself if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or maybe even depressed?
For me, it's prayer. For me, it's being alone with God, and it's music. It's my spirituality is so connected to my love of music, and so uh, being able to block out so many things in the world and just to focus on God, to focus on Jesus for myself, and to focus on music. Uh, Strengthens me, it centers me, it motivates me, and it inspires me. And
Mm.
I need to also let go of the heaviness. And I just have fun with my wife. I have fun with my stepdaughter. We watch like stupid shows a lot of the time, and we just laugh like a ton. So laughter is also essential.
Oh man, I think there's an overlap with that music piece and laughter. I think laughter sounds like music to me
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, and it's said that that melody in music is the universal language, or it's the universal language that connects us all. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's a beautiful thing that feels spiritual in itself to me. So to know that those things all align for you is a beautiful thing. Last one, Robert. What is one of your favorite childhood memories? Got to dig deep in the vault for this
Hmm.
one.
One of my favorite childhood memories would probably be like going to basketball camp as a kid. I
Okay.
love basketball. I played basketball my whole life. Just being able to play, learn from other people, learn with other kids, and those were just fun times for me.
Yeah,
And actually, with
definitely.
music, going to concerts. So what am I saying? Like going to live shows, like is just the best to me. So, and I still do it now, and I'll do it. My wife's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to a concert." She's like, "What?" So I'll be doing this till I'm, as long as I can, I will go to live music.
So, what was do you remember the first concert you went to?
Yeah, I listen to all kinds of music. I also I listen to heavy metal. So the first show I went to was it was Corn. It was Limp Bizkit. It was Ice Cube. It was a German band called Rammstein and a band called Orgy. That it was like a family value show. It was all five bands. All five artists, including Ice Cube, and all on the same stage. And I think I was in eighth grade.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope. That's cool. It sounds like music is a huge part of your life. Can you talk about some of the other influences, some of the people, maybe some of the other things, basketball, that influenced you as you were growing up? And I hear a Boston accent. So in Boston, is that right?
Yeah, I apologize. You have to listen to my accent in this interview. So if you don't understand something I say, please ask me to repeat it. Uh, the letter R is not in my vocabulary.
That's hard because both of our names start with the R.
Reggie, I can take. You
It's in
know,
the middle.
it's anything after. So I'll try my best. I
I
promise.
got you.
It's like
Yeah.
it's not like Martha. It's Martha.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, tell me a little bit about some of those influences growing up.
Oh yeah, I mean, both of my parents are incredibly hardworking people. Uh, my grandmothers were so nice. They all hardworking people in my life. They've always loved me, treated me well. I have four older siblings, so I've learned from them. I try to tell people too, like everything's a learning experience, good and bad. So uh, I've had, throughout my life, I've had teachers. I grew up Catholic. I have had great friends. Friends in many ways are like family to me. They're
Mhm.
even closer to me than some family members. And as life goes on, you just, with sports and work, I've learned a lot in the business world. And then I became a teacher. So just learning from teachers and learning from kids. I learn a ton from kids to this day. And being open to people's experiences, having podcasts like this, reading, watching interviews, listening to people with differing opinions, being a rape crisis counselor. I mean, it's changed my life completely. So all these things have really helped me and shaped me into who I am. And hopefully I can continue to listen and grow and evolve as a human.
Wow. You said that everything is a learning experience, good or bad. Is that a mentality and mindset that you've always possessed, or can you remember someone teaching that to you?
Well, I don't always react the best way. So, when I get angry in a job or I get upset or whatever it is, people wouldn't say I think that way in the moment, but it
Yeah.
ultimately is true. So, you learn. I used to work at an agency where I had like the best boss, and I've had really bad bosses. They weren't effective at all. So you learn how to manage. So this it, like life isn't easy. And so even though something's super stressful, I try and tell my stepdaughter this. You're going through some struggles now. You're going through like misery right now, but you don't even know what it's preparing for you like later in
Mm,
life. So
mm.
in the moment, do I think that way? Probably not. But looking back on life, yeah, I would say that you. People always ask, they're like, "So what do you want to do in life?" I say it's just as valuable to know what you don't want to do. It's
Yeah.
just as
Yeah.
valuable to learn what you don't want to do, and what you truly despise, hate, something you're not called for. That's, in my opinion, just as valuable.
That's real. I think I tell folks when I talk a lot that when I was a kid, I had three goals, like three big goals that were driving me. One was to graduate from high school because I hadn't seen that from my parents. Another was, and it goes to your point of things that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to have a child before I was, an adult,
Hmm.
and I didn't want to go to prison. And so
Hmm.
I saw what a life like that could turn into,
Hmm.
and I didn't want that life for myself. And so though it wasn't a definitive do this, it was don't do that. And that drove me and has propelled me to reach even greater heights and greater goals. And so I think that's a very keen insight right there. That's
How
real.
have those three things in your life impacted you in the sense of how you're able to help others with your own experience?
Yeah. I think one, as a child, I probably didn't have as much grace for other people's story or understanding and empathy. It was more so like I see the struggle of that, and I don't want to live that out for myself or
Mm.
to put other people that I love through that. And it that has evolved over time. I recognize that, a circumstance isn't just one person's doing. It isn't just one person's moral character or any of that. Like life is, like you said earlier, life is hard.
Mm.
And so I think through it I've gained just a tremendous amount of understanding and grace. I accomplished all three of those goals,
Mm.
and I think for someone, in a different space with different circumstances, that those three goals may have not even registered on an achievement list because they would have been so, it would have been a given. But
Mm.
for me, they were huge. And so to do that, it gave me the sense that I could accomplish anything. And
Mm.
so to accomplish those major goals for me at the time then propelled me to accomplish even more major goals and set bigger goals for myself. And a big part of that was reaching out and helping other people see the potential within them. And I think that's something that I do on a regular basis is, when I'm meeting, whether it's a stranger or somebody I've known for years, it's really highlighting the potential and the greatness that lies within everyone. So, yeah, thank you for that question. I'm I'm curious with what uh you said everything is the things that you go through are preparing you for something else.
Mm.
Can you speak to some of the things that prepared you to be in the world that you're in now as a rape crisis counselor, because that's a heavy role to carry.
Well, congratulations, number one, and
Thank
and
you.
and what you've accomplished in your life. It's incredible, and you had these goals, and you did it. You chose it. I know you worked for it. And I know you struggled without even knowing you, and that's a testament to you and a testament of what's possible. It really,
Mhm.
especially for our youth. So it's just so important for kids that don't believe that. They don't believe that within themselves. There's so many kids that can't even fathom, right, that they could have this in their life. So kudos to you, and keep sharing those messages, and it
Thank
resonates.
you, brother.
You don't even
Thank you,
know
brother.
with Ray Price counseling, with this interview, with the way we talk, we often don't know the impact of our words in
Mm.
both good and bad ways, and positive and negative ways, of how damaging we can really be. What has
Mm-hmm.
prepared me, again, a lifelong of experiences with people. Ultimately, God's called me to this work. So God has given me something and asked me to do something. And some of the things, like just being open and listening to people and hearing their stories and their pain, that
Mm-hmm.
has it, and it still prepares me for this work. I don't have all the answers. I don't have everything, So I'm constantly still being prepared in many ways, but it's made me, being with people and having people open up. Now, I don't go to people. I don't ask them. I'm not like, hey, tell me your deepest and darkest secrets. Like, that's not how like life is. So randomly, this can happen to me anywhere when you least expect it, and someone will just disclose to me. So
Mm-hmm.
that has prepared me. It's made me more patient. It's made me more compassionate. It's made me more empathetic. It's made me a better human being. It's made me a better man. It's made me
Mm-hmm.
it, as painful and as heavy as it is. It's been more beneficial and more influential in my life. So with all the pain, there's been so much good that's come out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's fully answered your question, but like I said, with all these experiences, working in the business world, working in the school system, working with survivors and victims in their deepest and darkest pain, all of that has prepared me to hopefully be a better presence and a calming presence and a safer presence for people who need it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And can you? I think there's so much humility in what you just described of knowing that you don't know all the answers, but there's this energy exchange where people will disclose things to you, and I think that that's recognizing people recognizing the safety that you are for them, and whether they know you deeply or not, like there's a way that people carry themselves that make you feel like I can trust this person with what I'm about to say. And I think that is, like you said, you were called to this, like to have that demeanor is huge. And so you've been heavily involved in activism and advocacy work. What drew you to that from let's start with the criminal justice standpoint. What drew you to criminal justice work to begin with?
Again, one of your goals is prison. I work with middle school kids, and I ask them, like, what do you want to learn about, like, in life? Like, what are you interested in learning about? And sometimes they say prison and crime, and I'm like, well, let's
Mhm.
discuss it. Let's do research. Let's talk about, what do you want to learn about? And so I went to school for criminal justice, and uh, I was taking a class called Women in Crime, and it was
Mhm.
about women in the prison system, which is something I don't know if we often think about. And uh, the majority of women are incarcerated for drugs. The vast majority of women have been sexually abused. I mean, the connection of trauma and prison is huge.
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
it's just connected. So, and coupled with addiction. So, and specifically with women, again, even sexual abuse. Same with men, but I would argue more so with women. But so taking a class on that, talking about women, female gang members. So just learning about female gang members, and there was a part of the class that dealt with rape.
Mhm.
So we were reading a book, and it was just hitting me. Like, I was just getting like angry. It was just hitting me in a different way. And there were women that came from a crisis center to our class, and I knew I had to go to that class. So I went, and they came, and these women were like angels to me. They were so gentle, but they were so strong. I was just in awe that these women did this like full time. I've never heard of this in my life. And they showed us a reenactment of a perpetrator. So
Mm.
that reenactment, like my rage scared me. Like, I had this deep rage, and I had this deep disgust where I thought I was going to just throw up in my chair. I did. Like, I just thought I was going to lose it. And God was speaking to me, and God asked me, will you help? And there were opportunities to volunteer, and I was so nervous, so scared. It's like every negative thing came at me. It's like I got flooded with nothing but negativity and weight. Um, but I ultimately did it. I went up to the women after their presentation, and I asked, like, "Oh, can I volunteer?" And they're like, "Yeah, let me take down your information." And ultimately, they chose me over other people, and I became an intern. And my life's never
Wow.
been the same since. I've been doing this work ever since that moment. So,
Wow.
criminal justice studies, learning about the prison system, learning about juveniles, and learning about trauma, sexual abuse, physical abuse, the horrors that people really go through, and what ultimately leads what leads people to prison in general is fascinating to me. And the choice we make, addiction, all these things, we could have a long discussion about incarceration.
Yeah.
Those played a vital role in my life.
Wow. I think a lot of times in the work of advocacy and activism, you see someone who has had their own personal experience with what it is that they're advocating for.
Hmm.
Do you care to disclose whether or not that was what drove that rage when you heard about the perpetrators, or saw that reenactment, or was it just a deep human connection and experience seeing people going through so much suffering?
No, you can ask me anything you want. I can only describe it as God talking to me. There was
Mm.
something deeper and something different. There was no, I have no I have not been sexually abused of anything I'm aware of. Part of the things I've learned and written about is how the brain really does repress memories. How people, I know a man who didn't know he was sexually abused when he was 4, a little 4-year old boy who was sexually abused until he was well later in life. So that is real for people.
Mhm.
I can't say that. So it wasn't, it had nothing to do with me. It had something, it was a calling to something. And I didn't know what that would be. And arguably that's what faith is. You dive into something, you don't know what it's going to look like, what your role is going to be, how hard it's going to be,
Mm.
how easy it could be, all the impacts you might have or not have. All I knew was I wanted to be a part of it. All I knew is I had to be a part of it. All I knew is I would do anything they asked, like even clean the toilets. I didn't care. Like as long as if they accepted me, if this is something that they're accepting me into, I would do my best in my own weakness to simply just help. Like part of it was learning that like women being blamed for being raped. Why? Like what
Right.
is wrong with you? Why would you ever blame a woman for being raped? There's not one actual reason to do that. So it drove me crazy. And I knew, well, I would never do that. So
Mhm.
if that is helpful to a human being, I have a responsibility to do something because I
Yes.
just simply knew on a foundational level, we can't do that. We
Yeah.
can't do that. And so
What do you what do you think it is about our culture, society that allows for that to happen? For women, for victims, for survivors to be blamed for what they've endured.
I think it's a combination of things. I think there are people who are, there's too many human beings that are just simply unkind.
Mm.
We're unkind. There's so many of us that we don't listen to each other. We don't see each other. Some of us take pleasure in the pain of others. Some of us might feel safer if, because so some people, they might say, well, what were you wearing? So if I don't wear a dress, that won't happen to me. If I don't wear a bathing suit, that won't happen to me. Why were you drinking? How much do you drink? If I don't drink, that won't happen to me. How could you hang out with this person? If I don't hang out with this person, it won't happen to me. And I can understand that to a point, but that's not the reality. It's
Right.
not the reality. It has absolutely nothing to do with clothes, with drinking, with anything. With people, most often people are abused by someone they know,
Mhm.
and in my experience, very little alcohol has anything to do with it. You're talking about sober people who are sexually abusing sober people. So
Mm.
uh, it's just, so I think there's a combination of reasons as to why people do it. But regardless of the reasons, it's causing deep pain. You take a person who's traumatized and has been raped, assaulted, attempted rape, just molested, any word you want to use in any form of trauma that causes that immense fear and pain into a person, and then you don't believe them or you blame them for it, it's making them worse. It's causing that,
Yeah.
they're already taking a deep, you're already taking a hurt person and making them go even lower, even lower. But if you don't do that, if you listen to them and support them, you can actually bring them down a path of healing. It's
Yeah.
the power of our responses
Yes.
has huge weight in the recovery of people.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
I absolutely, it makes sense. And this is something that is a very um, what you just described hits home for me. My listeners and people who follow me know that I disclose. I realized that I had trauma of sexual abuse from my childhood that I didn't categorize as trauma until adulthood, and really understanding trauma and how it affects the brain and how it affects us, and that shame that you talk about, like, I carried that in a way that I didn't know I was carrying it. And for me, I think, my I had recollection of this. This wasn't repressed. Well, some may still be repressed. I don't know, but I remember 3, maybe 4 years old. It was a girl though, and so in this society, a boy and a girl having been in any kind of sexual encounter with a girl was something that I was supposed to carry like a badge of honor and beat my chest and be proud of. And that was a form of invalidating my experience as a 3, 4 year old who didn't know what the hell was going on.
Hmm.
And I couldn't tell anybody until many years later, and talking about, with young boys and friends who were teenagers, of like, been there, done that type of thing, but like, how, where, what? And just the confusion of all of that, and knowing how that programmed my mind from that point on. There was a lot of shame, I've had conversations with people who have similar traumas, and their experiences were invalidated. They carried even deeper shame, and it wasn't that pride that I was taught to have around my situation. And so yeah, I think absolutely, like, the response to someone, if they're able to disclose, is huge. But can you speak to why a survivor may not be able to disclose what they've experienced?
Well, thank you for sharing what you just shared. Let me know obviously if you need anything at any time. You get my
Thank you.
information, and I think it's just huge that you feel comfortable enough to share that, and that you trust enough, and that you're strong enough. And it's awful that that happened to you. It's awful that people respond that way. That no kid, no child, no person should be abused. And kids are just, it's different with kids. It's there's there. So why is it so hard? For kids, you're a kid, you're a child, you don't even have the language
Mhm.
to actually articulate what happened. I work with kids, so I see kids want to play. They want to play tag. They get so much joy over hitting a ball, and then you take that same kid, that same age, and they experience a true trauma. I mean, a horrific trauma that they don't know how to articulate it. They don't know how to feel. Similar with adults. So part of the reason people don't talk is they don't know how to even get it out. They don't
Mhm.
even know what to say, what to do. Some of it is also just fear. They don't know what will happen, especially if it's someone, maybe it's someone they love, like a family member. So, what if they tell someone, and now what does that mean? Is someone going to be arrested? Is someone going to be taken away? There's all these
Mhm.
questions a kid might be going through. They might not know how to talk about against a family member. There's a lot of fear. The shame is the killer. Shame is the killer. I mean, this is leading people to suicide. So this is leading to people to depression, addiction, suicide. So shame alone is preventing people from talking and open up. And also what you've already shared, that there are many men, boys that act like it's a badge of honor. There are people that think it's this great thing that happened to you. Other people that wouldn't even believe you. All these awful responses to an incident of childhood trauma is very sad.
Mhm.
This is what I attempt to do. This is what I attempt to tell people. Um, so really, all those reasons, and probably more, are reasons why people don't talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Um, you've had the opportunity to work with so many different survivors, and you even wrote a book to the survivors. What motivated you to compile those testimonies, those poems into your book?
Again, for me, I had a dream. I woke up from a dream, and I said I have to write a book. and I knew that survivor stories would be in it. It there are there's written stories, there's poetry, and there's interviews with
Mm,
women, men, and one transgendered man, and it's just all raw and honest. I mean, there's profanity, controversial things, whatever. People take with it what they want and what they need, but ultimately it's true. It's all real, and the only way, to me, the only way you can really make an impact on these deep issues that impact like countless people. There's way too many human beings who are sexually abused in this world. Is
yeah.
to be honest, is to be vulnerable. You asked earlier about vulnerability. These people were so vulnerable and trusting to me. I'll always be thankful to them. And their words, your words, what you're sharing today, it resonates. It connects. It helps other people feel less alone. It actually helps other people open up. It helps other people seek out what they need. And people need different things at different times. So just the power of your words alone can change your life, can save a life.
Hmm.
And it's 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 important for people if they choose to read it, if they choose to look into this topic, if they choose to listen to this interview, how people can be impacted of every background, of any background, and of
Yes.
at any age. And the impacts, there's differences amongst people, but there's also similarities
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons I started the podcast was recognizing when I shared my story, when I was vulnerable, when I flexed my vulnerability muscle, it helped me to connect with people on a deeper level. It helped me heal, and ultimately grow. And I think as we tell more stories, as we share more stories, that's what we get. We get to see humanity in other people. We get to see that mirror and reflection of ourselves in other people. I'm curious how you went about navigating the ethical responsibility of sharing these deep personal stories, because I have people reach out and ask about my story, or I was recently interviewed for a book and I'm reading a contract that was the it was triggering in just the language. It wasn't trauma
Hmm.
informed language.
Hmm.
The interviewer, it just it felt off, and it felt like the ethical and emotional responsibility wasn't taken with great care. How
Hmm.
did you navigate that, or how do you navigate that?
That's a good. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. What was, if I may ask you before I answer, what was challenging in the legal contract for you? Like
Yeah.
how, like what was written about it that made you feel a certain way?
So one, I think I have a greater understanding of just legal contracts because of the finance work and stuff that I've done in my profession.
Hmm.
But to see, we own the rights to this throughout the universe in perpetuity, through like those that type of language, which I
Hmm.
steer clients away from,
Hmm.
athletes and things, when they're signing deals with different people that keep their words and their whatever they've shared in somebody else's control forever throughout
Hmm.
everywhere.
Hmm.
Felt off to me. But then also there was language around not being able to review and approve what was ultimately said, that
Hmm.
the editing and all of that could be in somebody
Hmm.
else's hands.
Hmm.
And to know that, trauma, a hallmark of trauma is not having a choice. We don't choose to be abused. We don't choose to be neglected. We don't choose that.
Hmm.
And then to have that reinforced through a contract is very harsh. And so I ultimately, at this point in life, I'm able to advocate for myself. So I responded with redlined, and it had a lot of trauma informed language in it once it was finally signed. But I know that there were other survivors who didn't, and they signed that contract, and it's hard to know that. And so it's all I think about storytelling a lot, and even in these conversations, I don't want to share anything that no one is comfortable, if they're not comfortable sharing it. So we could have the best conversation. If you say don't air it, I won't air it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm curious how you navigate that.
I hope I did it ethically and morally. What I did was I asked people, I was just honest, and I just said, here's what I'm doing. Do you want to be a part of it? And if you do, you have the final say. Like, it's your words. Like, you absolutely have the final say. This isn't about me. It's never been about me, and it will never be about me. So it's up to you. And some people started the process and stopped. Some people said
Mhm.
no, so that's fine. Other people
Mhm.
started the process and stopped. Other people, we weren't aligning. Like
Mhm.
it like like if you're not in this like full your whole being, then you don't have, like, no one has to be a part of this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's completely their choice. Ultimately, the people who made it into the book wanted to be there. They chose to. One guy originally, I also said, let's change your name. And they
Mhm.
said yes. And one guy changed his name, and then he ultimately wanted to reveal his real name. And so I did. And before, I don't like discussing, I mean, I discuss money and finance, but I don't like love it. It's not, I don't like bringing money into like this work,
Right.
but I also understand it's a reality of life, and contracts are real in life. So before I published their names, I had them sign a very simple, basic, like, disclosure form, something very simple. But it's not like I own the rights to you, or you know, they ultimately signed it. It's still ultimately their choice. But I felt like it was important to have something of contract before you publish something in the world, because I don't know if one person's even going to read it. I don't know if
Right.
10 people are going to read it. I don't know if 200,000 people are going to read it. I have no clue
Mhm.
what's going to happen in this world.
Mhm.
But ultimately, they approved their own words, and we had plenty of time to say, okay, this is what we're really doing. Are we really good? Are we really good? So,
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. While you were talking, I thought about another part to it that I thought was a little bit harsh. To be reproduced in other formats. And
mm,
so if you take, the story that I tell you and then you depict that in a movie or you make a short film or whatever and without consulting, without coming back, without checking, like all of those things were good to go on the original contract and it just didn't, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. And so I'm glad to know. I can hear just. I mean, you've asked me questions. You've been curious. You've been compassionate, and so I can tell that you take that responsibility seriously. So,
I mean,
yeah, thank you for that.
people shouldn't profit off your story. So, if there's a profit, there should be a conversation, and
Hmm.
there should be some, like, I believe 60% of my own books in the words of other people. I
Hmm.
don't sit here and I don't try to I give many free copies away. Anyone who's interested, if they want it, it's out there in the world. And uh, when I try to talk about it, when I try to, if people are interested, I'm not like, oh, please come read my writing. I think my writing sucks. It's more like I want people to connect. I want people to stay alive.
Yeah,
I want people to heal through the horrors of sexual abuse, and this is my attempt to do that. And some of the most powerful ways I know, the most effective ways, are by the words of other people.
yeah, yeah. Can you? Is there a story that sticks out in your mind of that healing and hope and transformation in a person's life that really sticks out and stands out? And can you speak to that?
Well, you said earlier, it's interesting. It's important for two men to talk. I mean, in the book, there are three stories of men. One was abused by a priest, and at the time he was in a male group, and he came into my home, he interviewed with me, and he asked if he asked the group if they were interested in contributing, and two men that I've never met before came to my home and interviewed. So one guy, Don, this was his first time he ever opened up in such great length. And
Mm.
so if I didn't respond adequately or well, he would have just told me to screw off, and he would have left, and his interview never would have made it into this book. And so there's healing in that alone, that he could talk for that long, in the way the conversation flows, just like this conversation now. And then there's another guy, Chris, that in the writing you can actually, I believe you can see and almost feel his hesitation, his breakdowns, his healing in the process. For him, I don't mean to speak for him, but that's how I
Mhm.
take his words when I read it. So
Mm.
in the book, those are some ways, but in just life in general, just seeing people being able to be married, people being able to have relationships, have children, People that don't end up in prison, as you say, people that don't uh, end up. I mean, my God, I know. There's a woman I know who she tough upbringing, tough childhood, and I always saw her bright smile, but it never came out often, and people don't know her real story. And you see her
Mm,
real story, and you go, "This makes a lot of sense why she looks angry."
mm,
Because she has all justified reasons to be angry, but I see her bright light in her. And knowing that she's, again, like not in prison and doing well successfully in business, I'm happy for her, you know? So
wow.
there's so many different ways we can define success and ways we can show success. But seeing people, if it's possible that having people have this not cripple them and have it not control them means the world
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. You brought up an interesting point when talking about, I believe it was Chris, of seeing the hesitation as he was coming out and telling that story.
Mm-hmm.
What are your words to survivors or anyone who has experienced, sexual abuse, sexual trauma, in how they share their story, when it's okay to share their story, when it's not okay? Like what is your advice to them when that comes up?
I listen to them. I don't give them advice unless they ask for it. I listen to them, and then depending on what comes out, then I will respond. And
I'm saying
sometimes,
to someone listening to this who may have a therapist or a counselor, someone in their life wanting them to open up. They've started, but now they
mm,
want to retreat.
okay,
What can you say to that person?
it's tough. I can understand why they would want to retreat. I can't make them open up. I don't know if that's. I don't actually believe that's my role to. I think it's important for them to. It's great they're in they're seeing a therapist, and if they have someone they can trust, I think they need to go at it in their own way, in their own time, at their own pace. And I
Mhm.
think that looks differently for different people. But having them know that there's options out there, sometimes that could be in a therapy session. That could be just someone listening to this podcast from front to back alone is immense growth for a human being. That could be reading a book at 2 a.m. That could be just going to hit a heavy bag in boxing. And, you love football, right? So, like, that could just be getting out on the field and playing football that they feel that could be healthy and releasing for them in that sense. But I would also say that as scary as it is, that you'll get through it.
Mhm.
That it's ultimately it's going to do more damage keeping it in
Mm.
than getting it out if you get it out to the right people because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I said this earlier with
Yes.
vulnerability. It's terrifying, and it
Yes.
is. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of life, it will be worth it, and you can get through it, and I believe you will get through it.
Yeah. I think it's so crucial, the right people, because if there's a reason why you decided, or where your body and you just retreated from that conversation with someone, maybe it was off their response, maybe it was off the energy you felt, maybe it was something about that person. I would say listen to that. I would say listen to that. But to Robert's point, once you are able to get that out, it's liberating. It's so liberating to be freed from the shackles in your mind and the pain that carries. There's still pain. There's pain and healing, but it is a liberating feeling to get those things off of your chest.
Hmm.
Mm. Robert, how do you balance your own well-being with such high impact work? How do you take care of yourself?
I mean, sometimes I don't, but sometimes when I do, it's similar to what I said earlier. For me, it's prayer, it's meditation, it's being with my wife, being with my stepdaughter, laughing, it's music, being with kids, man. Kids, I have more laughter working with I have more joy working with kids than any other job I've ever done. That I can just play games with them and have fun with them. So that's
Mm,
all really helpful for me. And knowing, but for me, it is something deeper. And for me, this is a lifelong calling that if I'm effective in it, I have a responsibility to do it. So I don't balance is important. Balance, I would tell anyone, is necessary, and I need it for myself as well. And when I have it, I think I continue to grow and get stronger to do it. So it makes me more effective to do it, to continue doing this. It's more strengthening myself will only allow me to be able to strengthen other people as well. So in certain moments I don't do it, but when I do, it's very beneficial, and I keep going. We keep going. Life is messy.
Yeah.
Life is
Yeah.
messy, and none of this is guaranteed. None of
Mm,
it. None of
mm,
this is guaranteed. So with whatever time I have left, I try to live out my calling as best as I can.
mm. Man, you're right. Nothing is guaranteed. I'm reminded of that. It's been uh just this morning I found out that two very relatively young people that I know passed away recently, and two separate occasions. And it's like, you know, one in their 20s, one in their late 30s. And it's just like, you never know. You never know. And life is, even a full life is too short to not live out your purpose, to not live a life that you are happy with, and to go and pursue those things. And so I'm glad to know that you are doing that, and you're walking in your purpose, and you're helping people along that way.
One of the
I could.
I have to say, one of the saddest things in this world to me is that abuse and trauma and sexual abuse is preventing countless
Mhm,
people from doing what you're saying.
mhm, mhm.
We were not born to just live in misery and depression. And as you used the word shackles earlier, you're right. People are shackled, man. People
Yeah.
are imprisoned, and not in a physical prison
Yes.
that you talk about. You're absolutely right. And so it is abuse, and they teach lies. They teach
Yeah.
lies about ourselves. They teach lies and shame and all these negative things, all these forces that come at people, and it's preventing people from what you're doing, from what you're saying they can accomplish. So
Mm,
having this conversation and continuing in this work, little by little, one by one, if possible, even if one person's impacted, it's all worth it.
mm,
If
mm.
just one person's
Wha-
impact, is worth it.
Debunk some of the lies that you hear on a regular basis, that people have been fed, or that the stories that they may be telling themselves based off of what they've been told.
People from all ages, including children, believe they are ugly. They believe they are worthless. They believe they are meaningless. They believe they have no purpose. They believe they have no talents. They believe they can't get a girl, or have a girlfriend. They believe that things are just meaningless, but that they believe they're awful. They believe they're not worthy. They're worthless, as I said. They so many people don't believe they can accomplish some of the success you talked about earlier. And none of these are true. It's true that they believe it. It's true that
Mhm.
they feel it. And it's true that they think it. That's true. But ultimately, it's a lie. But it's a powerful lie.
Mhm.
I work in a field of truth and lies. What I do, I try my best to combat the lies with truth for people. And sometimes that can take years.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's really agonizing. But eventually, once the truth comes out, it's like all this stuff goes away in their lives. It doesn't mean they're perfect, doesn't mean they don't have pain, doesn't mean they don't have memories and setbacks. I wouldn't say that. But the idea that they are worthless, meaningless, have no purpose is simply not true. And that again leads people into depression, anxiety, horrible
Mhm.
relationships, serious addiction, and death.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
killing themselves.
What is the truth in an affirmative way?
The truth is that you are not blamed for being sexually abused. The truth is that there's nothing you did that made someone hurt you. That is solely the responsibility of someone who chooses to hurt another. That's the truth.
Mm.
The truth is that you are then suffering for years, most likely a lifetime. That's one thing that's different. One of the things about this crime. It not only impacts people so deeply, it not only impacts people in so many different ways, it does it for so long. The time that it's affecting their mind, their self esteem, again, their actions, their schooling, their relationships. It's so much damage on one act from a human being that chose to do it.
Mm.
That's the truth. But also, the truth is that there is hope and that you can heal. That this does not have to control you. This does not have to cripple you. And that, as awful as it is, you are not what the abuse tells you are. That's the truth.
Mm. Thank you for those words. Thank you. Thank you. I could talk to you for hours. But before we close out, I wanna do another segment. It's just a fill in the blank, and similar to beginning, is it could be short, it could be long, it could be a story. But I'm curious what your responses will be. Vulnerability makes me feel blank.
Scared. Vulnerability makes me feel scared, nervous, terrified, but it's ultimately important and necessary to go through.
Mm. Healing begins when blank.
Healing begins when you seek, when you make a step, when you express something, when you scream, when you cry, when you go for a walk, when you admit you have no clue what's happening, you don't know what to do, when you
Mm.
open up.
Mm. Hope looks like blank.
Heaven, light, peace, strength, inspiration, art, music, dance, children, joy.
Yes. If I could tell survivors of sexual crimes, of sexual violence, one thing, it would be this.
You are not to blame. You are loved. Nothing you did caused anything that happened to you. You are strong. You have a purpose. You are meaningful. You are
Mm,
never alone.
mm, mm. And lastly, when I need inspiration, I turn to blank.
I turn to Jesus Christ. I turn to God. I turn to music. I turn to art. I turn to other people. And I even turn to the pains of the world. I turn to angry and depressing music and art. And I see what they're going through and listen to them. And that moves me.
Mm. I love how thoughtful you are with your responses. I've loved this conversation. Even just in the beginning, asking me questions about my own experiences. I can tell that the work that you're doing, like you're in the work that you do and you mean it. It's not it's not for show. And you have a deep passion for it. And I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for folks like you who show up for others. Because you don't have to, and you do anyway. And I think that is truly the work that we as humans, um godly humans, we do that work. And so thank you so much. Are there any final thoughts, final words, things that you want to get off your chest to share with the audience, to someone out there who needs to hear something?
I thank you for this. I thank you for this conversation. I thank you for, giving the time and the opportunity. And I thank you for your vulnerability to open up to people out there. There's, there's people out there.
Hmm.
There's nothing that you've experienced is unspeakable.
Yeah.
And that's another lie that this stuff teaches people, that they can't talk about it, but they can. You can. There's people out there that will listen to you. There's people out there that will believe you. And if you do not get treated the way you should be treated, with love, compassion, respect, seek someone else.
Hmm.
Don't have it shut you down for another 10 years, 20 years, 40 years.
Mm. Yes.
on someone else, because someone else will. You are deeply loved. You have a purpose. And again, nothing you did caused this. You're not to blame. And you don't have to do this alone. You don't.
Yes. Can you speak to some resources that people can tap into, maybe national resources, local resources, that they can reach out to?
Yeah, you're in Tennessee. So RAINN is a great organization, RAINN, Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. You go on their website, and there's state websites for the US. So you can easily find things. There are crisis centers, there are 24-hour centers, there are books, there are podcasts, there's music, there's literature, there's resources out there. There's things in this world that you can use for yourself, for your life, for your own growth and healing. And it's not for me to say what's best for you. That's not even close to my point. But they exist, and go seek them, embrace them, use them. They're there for you. They're there for you, and you'll see what you'll do for yourself, and you'll see what you do for others.
Yeah. And how can people reach you, Robert, if they wanted to connect, to work with you, to learn more?
You can check out my website, robertuttaro.com. You can email me at info@robertuttaro.com. You can check out the book To the Survivors at Amazon if you're interested. And if money's an issue, the book is free on my website. So anyone can seek it if they want. And if it's too much for them, please don't uh, seek it. Don't open it if it's too hard for you. You
Mhm.
go at your own pace. You go at your own time. Um, but know that you'll get through it. You will. And Reggie, you're a testament to that. It's obvious. You're a testament to that. You're a testament to men, that men can be sexually abused as boys and live incredibly healthy, successful lives. You're such a peaceful guy and a strong guy, and men need to hear that. Men need to hear that. And there are women that commit acts of sexual abuse. It's absurd to think that doesn't happen. Our little boys are being impacted, and what are we doing for them? So you're a testament, my friend. You keep it up.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that, and thank you for your time today. It's been a heavy conversation, but a very fruitful one that I think many people, and especially many survivors, will gain and benefit from. Robert, with all the things that you could be doing and all the places you could be, I appreciate you being here with me, embracing vulnerability.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of Vulnerability Muscle. If you've enjoyed these conversations around vulnerability, please consider leaving a review. Your feedback not only motivates us to continue to do the work that we do, but it allows other people to witness the power of vulnerability. Share your thoughts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And don't forget to spread the word. You can follow us at Vulnerability Muscle on Instagram and me personally at Reggie D Ford across all platforms. Visit vulnerabilitymuscle.com for additional resources and support. And remember, embracing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is the source of your greatest strength. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but most workouts are. So keep flexing that vulnerability muscle.